So just getting started, the original homework assignment for today was all of lesson 9, I believe. Yeah, all of lesson 9. We discovered really quickly in the first session today that, boy, does that take a long time. There's really no way we could get through all of lesson 9 in the 1 hour that we had available. And unfortunately today for the first session, I wasn't able to extend the class any longer because I had to do a presentation in an online conference that's happening right now. So we decided instead that today we're just going to do lesson 9 part A, which is quite substantial, easily fills most of the hour, gives us plenty of time to discuss those things and really understand what's going on. And then for next time, we will we'll do parts B and C of lesson 9, and then we'll spend more time next week talking about lesson 10, because lesson 10 is also fairly complicated and extensive. It's worth spending a little bit of time on. So by splitting up this kind of lesson 9, lesson 10 session into 2, it will hopefully make it better all the way around, and also just deal with the immediate scheduling problem of me having to leave the previous session right on the hour. And in the interest of fairness, of course, we'll just do the same thing in this session as well. So I'll share my screen now. We are looking at lesson 9, exercise A, or wait, lesson 9, part A. And in this part, you're asked both to translate the Coptic and to then convert it into a preposition with a pronoun. So for example, in number 1, it's ejim kah, upon the earth. And then ejof would be the preposition with the pronoun, right? Because kah is obviously third person masculine singular. The earth is like, if we were to use a pronoun, we would say he for the earth. So when I convert the preposition to the pre-pronominal form, I get ejof, and that forces you to take this pre-nominal form of the preposition that we've learned, convert it to the pre-pronominal form, and then attach the proper pronoun. That is not at all an easy thing to do. Like I told the previous class, these sort of have to be memorized. And what I mean by that is there aren't perfect rules for generating them. So there are a lot of cases where there are irregularities that sort of just have to be known. But at the same time that I say that, I want to emphasize that I'm not suggesting that anyone actually sit down and memorize these. What I mean by that is that there are irregularities that must be learnt by rote, but there is really no advantage that I can see to trying to memorize all of the combinations of prepositions and pronouns that might theoretically arise. One reason for that is just that there are so many, and that there are some rules. So the rules aren't perfect, but they do kind of exist. So it's kind of silly to, like, throw out all that you can gain by learning a few rules in order to get things exactly perfect. The other reason is just that these things are not perfect in Coptic. And the comparable example I would use is in casual English speech, the use of the principal parts of the verbs is very, very flexible. One obvious example is that Americans say, I have gotten, G-O-T-T-E-N, and British English speakers tend to say, I have got, just G-O-T. I guarantee if you listen to examples of my speech, you will find examples of I've got many, many times. And I would be willing to bet that you'll find British speakers using the word gotten. That's kind of just a general trend. And then there are even more irregular examples. So where I'm from in Texas, it's very common for people to say, I buy, and then for the past participle, I have boughten, which is obviously like a silly made up word that doesn't really exist in English, but you'll hear it all the time. If you're in the suburbs of Dallas, I guarantee you will hear someone say the word boughten. And that's just because nobody actually knows the answer, right? These aren't fixed things where people feel like they kind of know it 100%. Even native speakers of the language are kind of just making it up on the fly. And that's also what's happening with these preposition pronoun combinations in Coptic. people are kind of just making them up as they go, and they're kind of going with what kind of sounds right. So if you were to sit down and memorize all of the ones from Lambden, you will have only memorized one possible arrangement of these things. There is no hard and fast absolute right answer. So it's one of these language things where it's actually much better to just kind of have a sort of loose, freewheeling understanding and just kind of trust your gut a little bit. And we're going to get a lot of practice today. So let me double check the number of participants again real quick. It looks like we have 8 possible answerers. There are 30 questions. I'll give you, what's 30 by 8? 3.5 or something. Roughly. So I'll give you 3 to 4 questions. So we'll just go with 4, see where we end up. Just so I don't get off track, I'm just going to call these 1 through 4 and start with Ethan. Ethan, are you willing to do 1 through 4?
Yeah. You did 1. Do you want me to go over it again?
Nah.
Okay.
I just, if I go off, I won't be able to count by 4 as if I have to add 1.
Sure.
So sorry, I cheated you 1 question.
That's okay.
Okay.
Number 2, ube pujois. The transformation I would say is ubef.
Yep.
Against their lord.
Yeah. And why F here?
Because pujois is a masculine noun. So
Yeah.
against it or him.
Yeah, and you have to be careful that you don't accidentally use the possessor to determine that that pronoun, because the pronoun is actually referring to the whole thing, the pebjois, their lord.
The first time I did these exercises, I had to go back and redo them because I realized that I'd been fooled by that.
Yep. I made the mistake in the first session today. I read one and I used the possessor instead of the noun. So, you never grow out of that.
It makes me feel a lot better.
Yep.
All right. For 3, he pevchloch. I'm pronouncing those characters as a CH, but I don't know if that's actually correct.
It's fine. There's opinions differ. I think the predominant view is that it's a palatalized K sound. And that's fine also. I'll accept either pronunciation. The truth is, in the case of like if we were to reconstruct Coptic as a spoken language, it wouldn't matter, right? And as evidence of that, I would use the modern pronunciation of Hebrew. Like they don't bother with pharyngeals at all in modern Hebrew, and the language works just fine. So they basically just threw out an entire class of consonant because because Ashkenazim cannot pronounce those sounds anymore. So they just dropped them, and everything worked out fine. So yeah, it's reader's choice.
Quick question: what is a palatalized? You said K sound.
Yeah, so that's like that's the difference between the K in con and the K in keen, right? So these are allophones in English. We don't consider them to be separate consonants, but one is further forward in the mouth and one is further back.
So like pethkloch.
Yep.
Would be okay. So to actually answer the question, the transformation would be hiof, an acknowledgement of the masculinity of the noun, and it'd be on his bed.
Good.
And for number 4, hirim patafos, the transformation would be hirof, and at the entrance of the tomb.
Yep. All right, well done, Ethan. Any questions about these before we do the next 4? Okay, so next on my list, I see Hytham. Do you want to do these 4, Hytham?
Okay, number 4, Menensa Nefmoy, after his death.
And I see, in case, hang on, Hytham. Nefmu?
Nefmo.
Which letter is this?
Nefmo.
Yeah, there we go.
That's pi. After his death, and if I were to say after it would be Menensuf.
Menensuf, good.
Yes. Number 5, Nahrim Benote, in the presence of God.
Mhm.
In the presence of him, it would be Nahrif.
Yeah. Okay.
Hin Piero, in the rivers. And if it were to be in them, it would be in Hato.
In Hato. Yeah, that's kind of weird, but yeah, so the
In the
word,
heart of them.
yeah. Actually it's belly of them. So this one is a little bit, you're gonna have to see this a bunch of times before it really starts to make sense. So there are two words. There's hate, which means heart, and then the pre-pronominal form is hete. And then there's hey, which means belly, and the pre-pronominal form is hate. It's very confusing because they look almost exactly the same. But what we really have here is hey en, so belly of the rivers, and then it gets abbreviated all the way down to just hen. And then we have in their belly, in hetu. If it were in their hearts, it would be heteu. So I need a place to write this down where you can see it. I'm just going to go over here. So so we have hey, and then hate is one pairing. That's the belly one. And then let's just try to separate these. And then hate, hate. Oops. That's the heart one. And you can see that there's actually overlap here, which creates confusion. But they are actually two different words. So yeah. And we'll see a few more examples of that as we go along, because I know it's weird. Anyway, but yeah, well done, Hyphen. Do you want to do number 8 as well?
Heaten, Behese, through these troubles.
Yep.
And if it were through them, it would be Hetoto.
Yeah, very good. Okay, well done, sir. Looks like I have Ralph up next. Ralph, do you want to take 4?
Sure. It's A in Tibet, which is to the fish.
Yep.
And it would be Irao.
Oh, to them.
Irao.
Good.
Etbe Peko, on account of their hunger. And it would be Ibeitef.
Yeah, I think it's at
Ibeitef.
Yeah, like that.
Epethran, to her name. Eros. Oh, Erof, name.
There we go. There it is.
That's
Yes.
when I did it.
He did
Not
it.
to her, it's to her name.
I knew it was coming. Sorry to single you out, Ralph, but it was me in the last class, so I know how it feels.
No, it's easy to do.
It's easy to do. Yeah.
Shanef Himhal, to his servants. So Sharo.
Good. Sharo. To them, up to them. Okay, good. Any questions about those 4? All right, good job, Ralph. Let's see, 13 through 16 I have on my list. Eric, do you want to do those 4?
Sure, just had to unmute. 13 is Hijem Paka, and that's upon the ground, and that would be Hijof.
Jof. Yeah,
and
good.
14 is Ensa Pefshere, behind his son or after his son.
Yep.
And that would be Ensof.
Good.
15 is Hitem Peko, through the famine. I wasn't quite sure how best to translate that.
Yeah, this is another one of those kind of these prepositional phrase sentences where they don't actually mean much of anything all by themselves. But yeah, literally through the hunger.
Through the hunger.
And your interpretation is just as valid as anyone else's.
Okay, and then it would be he told Tef.
Yeah.
He told Tef. And 16 would be Ha Paklok, under my bed.
Yep.
And that would be harof.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Well done. I have Michael. Are you here? I don't see you in the list. You must
Yes,
have been here.
I'm here.
Okay, there he is.
Okay, let me
Uh,
try, but I'm not confident. But you're calling me? Or not? There is another Michael, maybe? No.
No, I'm calling you, and you don't have to be confident. It's okay. I'll help you. I'm not confident either with these things. If that makes anyone feel any better, I kind of just guess at them. Honestly, it's like, oh, he Jof, like on it. I don't know. It just they feel very messy to me in my head, but whatever.
Okay. Mensa, ensa, pen, pot, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. After pen, pot. What is pot here? Pot.
Pot, would it help you if I tell you that it is a verb? Pot.
Okay. Pot is verb.
Mm-hmm. It's not a super common
Run, I
verb.
think.
Yeah.
I didn't hear. Sorry.
Run.
Run. Okay. Okay. After running, but pen means hour.
Yeah.
After our running.
Yeah. After our run. Literally.
Okay. Okay. So how can I change men's?
So you need the
So,
pre-pronominal form, which looks like you can
Okay.
find it on page, one of the pages, wait, where is it? I thought it was,
This one's in the vocabulary
oh my gosh.
because it's yeah, min and so is introduced as vocab and not along with the rest of the transformed things.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So it's on page 33, and it is just minin, so I'm just going to write it. That's weird. That's the only one that's like that. So it's like this, Michael. So how would you make it with
Okay.
a pronoun?
Just n.
Minin
So.
son, after us.
Okay. And then so.
It's the potes that we want to go after, right? It's not us.
Yeah.
It's our run. It's the thing.
Okay. Okay. No, I don't know. Sorry, I have no idea.
I would say minin sof, where the F actually refers to this whole thing. So penpot, our run, is a third masculine singular thing, right? And so we're saying after it, like all of that, penpot, the whole thing. Menen son also makes sense. Like this is a real Coptic word, but it just means after us. That's not exactly what we're trying to say here. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Number 18. Hen tef li. Li. I forgot li here.
It's cell or like a monk's room, like bedroom.
Okay. In her cell.
In not her cell.
Oh, sorry. In his cell. Okay.
Yeah.
In his cell, but feminine. Okay.
And cell is feminine. This is the one that I messed it up on in previous session. Free
Yes.
just doesn't look feminine. It looks masculine because it doesn't have a feminine word. Anyway.
So henos. We have henos.
No,
And-
so the transformation from hen, look on page 9. It's the second one in the list. It goes from hen to what?
Okay. N. Okay. En enhetos.
And hetes. Yeah.
Enhetos.
And again, this is the word belly. So Hates is her belly, literally in her belly. And then this literally says belly of his cell, right? So they look quite different. We go from hen to in hate. They don't look alike at all, but there is a deep relationship there. That is sensible, I suppose. It goes back to what I was saying. Like you have to just learn these, right? Because there's no way, there's no derivational rule really that's going to take you from hen to in hate unless you learn the entire etymology of both of these phrases, which is actually harder than just memorizing that hen turns into in hate. So, you know, one way or another, you have to just learn them.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Number 19. Hijem Pek Joy. Joy. Sorry, I don't know joy here.
Joy is boat.
Okay. Okay. So on his boat.
Not his boat.
Okay. So on your boat. On your
boat. Good.
Yeah. Okay. He jove.
Nice. Well done, Michael.
Okay. Sa neten hise. Hise is okay. There's vocabulary. Go weary. To grow weary. Exhausted. Okay. So sa means
not sa. It's ha.
Sorry, ha. Okay. Under or under because maybe here.
It could be because also under is one of these weird words where it actually has a very broad range of meanings in Coptic that it doesn't have in English. But yeah, so ha net and hise, because of y'all's troubles or under or something that supports your troubles can have a lot of meanings.
Okay, because of troubles or okay. And then ha changes haro. Okay. So haro and then neten. So it's plural. So haro. Haro.
Yep, that's it. Haro. Like this. Haro. All right. Good work, Michael.
It's difficult. Yeah.
AA, I have you next on my list, but you asked to write them in the chat. I think if it's all right, I'm just going to skip you because I don't see a way that you're going to, or unless you want to try. Do you want to try to write them in the chat? Up to you. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense to me. I don't see how we're going to do this with typing. But I don't want to leave you out, of course. Rami, do you want to do 4? Okay, Rami says no skip. And then I have Joe. Joe, can you take 4 of these?
Yes. Hey, everybody. Number 21, Etve'nsha, because of the festivals, and then that would become Etve'etu.
Yeah, because of them, Etve'etu. Good.
Number 22, here in Teklesia, at the entrance of the church, would become Hieros.
Yeah, and good catch there that Teklesia is feminine, so it's Hieros. Well done.
Originally, I thought I was doing these incorrectly because there were so few endings across the transformed forms.
Right. So and then
I realized, that's what we're getting at.
Why is that though? Like, why are there's such a small subset of the possibilities here?
Pretty much third person masculine and feminine endings cover most of it.
Yeah, and that's just because these exercises have been set up in that way, right? And it is also generally true that you will more frequently see these endings than you will the others, because it's just an inevitable consequence of the way we use language, that we tend to talk about third person things more often than we like immediately address people or describe ourselves in texts. So it's kind of generally true that these are more common. In this case, I was kind of waiting for people to notice individually that like there are actually only 3 possible answers when you're having to do this part of the exercise. But I didn't want to say it because I want you to keep working on it, you know, and like trying out different things. But yeah, there's really, you can only have F, S, or U on these. Yeah, good catch.
All right, number 23. Shah Tahullo to the old woman becomes Shah Ross.
Yep.
And number 24. Uve Nashaje against my words becomes Uveu.
Uveu. And we learned last time, I'm just going to go through it. I wrote the answer like this last time without really thinking too much, but then someone helpfully pointed out that it should actually be Uveu written this way without the O, because the eta and the Omicron Epsilon combine to become like this. So just a minor note. And Joe, do you want to do one more?
Sure, no problem. Number 25, Nahran Tefmau, in the presence of his mother, would become Nahras.
Nahras, very good. And again, on this particular preposition, the etymology of it is unknown completely. We don't know exactly what it means, but you can see that it has all of these things that exist in the other ones. Like we have this ren, but it becomes ras instead of ros. So it's clearly not from the word mouth. And then we have this her combination that we see in others, like in the word ha, that means under, becomes harof. We can see that it's made up of all the similar parts, but we don't know exactly what the etymology is or how it breaks down. But answer is correct, nahras, third person feminine, singular. And then last but not least, we have Mustafa. Are you willing to do the remaining 5, Mustafa?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no problem. Actually, the 25,
26.
Hitem, pouring, only on our light. Or
Our light? Did you say our light?
on our, yeah.
I don't see a
Pouring.
possessive here. I would
On
just
a
say
light.
like through the light.
Okay, through the light.
Yeah, hitem puoin, through the light. Just real quick to address a question in the chat.
The next one.
Hang on one second, Mustafa. AA asked, what do you think about the hra equals face explanation that Lambden gives? So I assume you're asking about this preposition, nahras. So like of her face. Yeah, that's possible. I honestly don't know. It's just with the other ones, I can tell you exactly how it breaks apart, and I can be absolutely certain about that. With nahren, nahras, I just can't be. But yeah, that possibility is good. Maybe it means something like of her face, and it's of the face of. Yeah, sure. It does match the form of the pre-pronominal form of the word face, so that's a good possibility. Where this A comes from is anybody's guess, but it's actually fairly common for constructs that contain the genitival N to actually get an extra vowel in them. For instance, the word benipe means iron, but it's actually ba and pe, like metal of sky. So where does the E come from in benipe? Don't know, it just gets an extra vowel in there that gets stuck in the word. Maybe this A is similar. Don't really know. Anyway, okay, returning to 26. So Mustafa, you translated correctly. Hitem puoin, through the light. And now we need the pre-pronominal form of this. So what would that be? Mustafa, your face communicates confusion. Are you there? Oh, we might have lost him. Maybe that was the confusion. It was that the internet wasn't working.
Actually, it would
Okay.
it would be he taught or
Yeah, good. He taught. What goes here, Mustafa?
sorry, my bad. My connection is sucks.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. We'll figure it out. He taught. Okay, we lost him again. Mustafa, I'm going to I'm just going to pass it along to someone else just because of the connection difficulties. Sorry about that. So coming back around to Ethan. Ethan, do you want to try to answer these last four?
Yeah, sure. Hitaotef
Yeah, he
would be the
taught.
transformation through the light.
Yeah, through the light becomes through it. Again, very
Yep.
sorry, Mustafa, to have to skip you here, but just want to kind of keep it rolling. And number 27, Ethan.
Hatten Timro,
Yeah.
near the harbor, and the transformation would be Hates.
How do I spell?
T or Tau, Eta. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Yeah. And again, this breaks down into like under heart of ha haten and then hat taste under her heart, literally.
Gotcha. Next one, Ejim Pabema, onto the platform. And it'd be Ejof.
Ejof. Very good.
And then for 29, Impamul, meaning of the water. And then
Yes.
Imof.
Imof. Yeah. This one's a little weird because there's an additional correct answer, which would be Nof, but we don't learn about it yet in the book. So this is the only correct answer that you have learned thus far. So yeah, Imof is the answer we want here. And then,
want me to do the last one?
Sure.
Okay, it's Menensa Psha Etamal, after that festival, and then Menensof.
Menensof. Okay. Excellent job. It looks like we've got them all answered. This took a little bit longer in the first session, but I still like our decision, especially since I had to cut the last session short and not go on to lesson B. I'm not going to go on to lesson B here either, just again, in the interest of fairness, because our time was more limited and it took a little longer to get through the section A last time. But just because we have a little bit of time left, I will say, let's see, what could we do that would be useful that won't step on the next thing? Last time we looked at all the parts of these things and how they break down. I put some examples in the syllabus to show the breakdown of these things. And maybe I'll just talk a little bit about, so I broke them all apart in the syllabus last time. So I showed you, some of them are body parts, like the word jo, that means head. So he jof upon its head. And then I made this thing where I tried to break down the rules for how you can actually derive these things. And as I've said before, these kind of have to be learned by rote. Quick question. In 26, should there be a macron over the F? So let's look at 26 real quick. There probably almost certainly should be, and yes, there should. Yeah, he told deaf. Yeah, good catch there. So here I've tried to break down the rules for you, and then I've given you these things, which they all come with a bunch of asterisks, right? Because it's not really a simple system, but it is largely consistent. So basically what we have here is that the first person common singular ending is just E. That can be a consonantal, like a yod sound, or it can be just a vowel, like an E sound. And then that went through certain predictable changes. In cases where the preposition ends in a T, as in hitoot, it would be hitooti. But then there was a rule that short final vowels tended to be lost at the end of words. So that just becomes hitoot. There's another rule in Coptic which says that final T, if not protected by a vowel, is lost at the end of a word. So that suggests that if the word were originally hitoot, we should lose the T and get something like hitoo. Because we don't have hitoo, because we have hitoot, that means that the T was protected somehow, which means that it was followed by some sort of vowel. And the only option for what that vowel might be is the first person common singular ending, which means that this must be through me, right? That's quite a convoluted sequence of logic to get there. But that's how it actually works when reading. The fact that the word ends in a T is sort of weird to the ear, because if you're reading a lot of Coptic, you kind of expect not to have that hard final T. And the fact that it's there kind of, it raises in your mind the feeling that something's missing, and there's only one thing that can be missing. So then the inevitable conclusion is that it's the first person singular. That's just a real pain that's how that works, but that is how that works. In other cases, like in the possessive article, in a case where we might have instead of piot, the father, we might have payot, my father. Why is it not piyot? Well, because the E sound in pre-tonic unstressed syllables tends to become an ah sound. So that's a general phonetic rule. So this ah in the possessive article actually is just the E, but with a different phonological rule applied to it. So again, those are the same. You have to know the whole etymology to figure out why they are actually the same. And then in the case of second person masculine, it's really reliable. It's just a K both times. Third person masculine, really reliable. It's just an F. Third person feminine, it's just an S. First person common plural, it's just an N. That's very consistent. And then in the third person common plural, it's normally an U somehow. That rule is not perfectly reliable either. We'll see some exceptions to that as we go into more verb cases, verb paradigms, I should say. We will see cases where it is not U, but for the most part, that is U. So our remaining weirdness for what we've seen so far pertains to the second person feminine singular, which, as I've said before, was originally a T sound that was then unpronounced. So it changed into a glottal stop. So really, by the time of Coptic, the marker of the second person feminine singular is a glottal stop, and that just emerges in different ways. In this case, why it's U there is an excellent question. I don't have a great answer for it. I think it's probably by analogy with the plural, where the long ah type vowel changes into an U because of the presence of the nasal, and then the singulars, pu and tu, are pu and tu instead of pa and ta, by analogy with nu in the plural. Not totally sure about that, but that's one possibility. But you just have to know it. And that's, again, why I say that, you know, the rules will get you 90% of the way there. And then there's just going to be a few exceptions that that you just kind of have to memorize, like, here's the exception and here's what the value I need is in that case. So, you know, second person feminine is boo or poo. And then in the second person plural, we get another case where there's just like lots of weird little exceptions. This is pretty predictable, actually. Petin makes perfect sense. We go, you know, pek, pef, pes, pen, petin, peu. It's always just pe plus the pronoun. For the second person plural, the pronoun is generally ten. And we get some consistency like that with the prepositions too. So we get eroi is to me, perfectly consistent, even keeps the e sound, the very old first common singular pronoun ending. Erok, perfectly consistent, just like we expect with the second person singular masculine. Ero, perfectly consistent. And then eroden, we get this long O vowel. Why is that happening? Well, because we've created a change in the syllable structure. If we look at an example like eron, which is perfectly regular, we'll see that the N of the pronoun finishes the syllable. In the case of eroden, we see that the 10, by being added to the ro sound, actually starts a new syllable and leaves that O vowel an open syllable, which changes it to an omega. So there is a consistent rule to explain that, but it ends up looking like just a minor irregularity in the chart. Not that big a deal. If you ever have like a exam, which you're not going to have, but hypothetically, if you did, at least in my class, I don't think I'm doing exams, and you wrote eroden with an omicron, that would be like minus half a point or whatever, right? Like it's not a serious issue. Where it does become kind of a serious issue is in cases where it's hard to figure out what would happen if you stuck 10 onto the end of the word. What Egyptian speakers tend to do is they tend to use the full form of the pronoun instead. So they'll take the pre-pronominal, they'll take the pre-nominal preposition very often, and they'll just stick teuten onto it. So an example that we see in Lambden is the last example on page 9, which I'll go to on the screen so we can look at it. This is kind of typical right here. So we have etve is the pre-pronominal form, and then we get etbeit, and then the T with nothing after it tells us that it's first common singular. Etbeitek, perfectly regular. Etbeite, obviously there's just like a little vowel that's been preserved there, which means that there must be some kind of missing consonant here. It's a consonant that doesn't get written, and there's only one of those, which is the glottal stop. Okay, so it must be second person feminine. A little elaborate, the logic, but you can also just memorize it. Etbeitef, perfectly regular. Etbeitus, regular. Etbeiten, regular. And then etve teuten, which is just like totally off the wall. And what has happened is we've taken the pre-nominal form of the preposition, and we've taken the full form of the second person plural. We've just mashed them together. Part of the reason for that is probably that nobody could figure out what was supposed to happen if you took etbeit and then put 10 onto it. Is it etbeiteten? Is it etbeiteten? Etbeiten with like a really long T sound? I don't know. It was probably confusing even for native speakers, so they just shortcut the whole process and say, okay, just use the regular preposition and just stick teuten against it. You'll see a few examples like that. You'll even see this example here where they've actually used the pre-pronominal form and they've stuck teuten onto it, the longer form of the suffix pronoun. Like I said, it's just messy sometimes. And that's just one more irregularity. And that just goes back to what I've been saying this whole time, that these like, they kind of have to be learned by rote, but there's kind of a system of rules that you can use most of the time. This is just an illustration of that principle. So I hope all of that going over it again is helpful. I thought since we had a little extra time, I'd go ahead and run through it again, and I'll, when I upload the video, it will be available for everyone who's interested. I apologize if not all of that made perfect sense, but I would say give it time, because eventually all this stuff it's self-reinforcing, right? So when you learn one thing, it doesn't really make any sense, but then when you learn two more things, they all lean against each other. And you start getting this self-reinforcing structure where it all kind of makes sense once you have it all together. So I would just say be patient with that. Okay, so any questions before we go?
Is there any new lesson for new topic or?
It's not a new topic. We're practicing this more. We're doing exercise 9 parts B and C. And then I'm also saying, try to read through lesson 10 just in advance of the next lesson, because there are quite a few new things that we have to learn in lesson 10. Lesson 10 actually has 2 substantial new topics in it, and we have to learn them both at the same time. So if you read it ahead of time, that might give you a bit of an edge. Does that make sense, Mustafa?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good luck, everyone. As always, put questions in the Discord. I will do my best, and I will see y'all very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Nice weekend.